Hello, disc golfing family, and welcome to episode number 29 of the Zen Disc Golf podcast. Super happy to have you. Let me go ahead and apologize that this podcast did not drop last month. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on here in the McCormick household. The wife and I are in the process of selling our home and moving, so as you can imagine, things are a little hectic around here, and basically the whole idea kind of happened as soon as the podcast was recorded. Almost, I believe it was the day after this podcast was recorded, we found a house on a nice plot of land that we decided to put a contract on. And so had to come back to the house and get this house ready to go on the market. And man, it has been a long, tiring battle to get that done. It's exciting though. We got a little plot of land that's going to happen and hopefully going to put a few baskets on that land. That's right. But we had a great time last month talking to Ryan Pickens and Justin Menickelli, who recently dropped their book, The Definitive Guide to Disc Golf. And that interview will be on this podcast, as well as Chris and Tim and I had a few reviews to drop on you. And also going to give some stuff away. Last month's $20 gift card to Infinite Discs will go to one of our podcast contributors. Will it be you? I challenge you not to listen ahead and try to dig the toy out of this cereal box of a podcast entertainment. But today, the podcast is brought to you by some of our amazing and generous podcast contributors. Jeremy Ziakis from Kentucky, Melissa Martin, Ohio, Royal Daniel, Texas, Todd Cisco, Kansas, and Timmy Anderson from Sweden. If you want to help us keep this show going and growing and flowing, we run 100% on single dollar contributions made through PayPal to make it nice, simple, and easy. Go ahead and click that link in our notes or head to the zendiscgolf.com and click the links to the right side of the page. Let's talk some disc golf here on episode number 29. So joining me here today, I have Justin Menickelli and Ryan Slim Pickens, and they are the authors of the Definitive Guide to Disc Golf, which is now available on Amazon and wherever great disc golf books are sold. So, gentlemen, thanks for joining me this morning. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great.
I'm doing wonderful here in the mountains of North Carolina.
Awesome. And you guys are luckily in the same time zone as the Zen Disc Golf park here in Virginia Beach. So it's nice that it's actually 10 a.m. there. Tim's actually on the line, and it's much earlier for him.
Yeah, just an hour. It's not too big of a deal.
I always envision like the microphone sitting on your nightstand, and you just kind of roll over and just start talking on the podcast.
You're scarily close.
So, gentlemen, tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got into disc golf. We'll start there.
Well, I'm an associate professor at Western Carolina University, and where I teach motor behavior, research methods, and a great little course called Beginning Disc Golf.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Can I take that course online, distance learning?
You may not, unfortunately for you. Yeah, and I was an ultimate player for still now a little bit longer than I've been a disc golfer, or it's getting close anyway. So yeah, man, I played ultimate. I played ultimate competitively. I played for Louisiana State University, where I earned my PhD in kinesiology. And, you know, we had a course. There's a course right there in Baton Rouge, a disc golf course. And in my 4 years in Baton Rouge, I never played it one time.
Oh, yeah?
No, not even once, man. And for a year we practiced Ultimate right across from the disc golf course, and I never played it, and I think it was because one of the Ultimate guys, one of the older guys who played disc golf, brought his little bag of golf discs to Ultimate practice one day, and I said, "Oh, let me see those things, man. Those are pretty cool." And I picked up the one that looked the least like an Ultimate disc, which was a driver of some sort, and I'm sure I fan gripped it and threw a little fluffy backhand, and it faded like crazy. And I thought, oh man, these discs are dumb. They don't. There's no glide, and there's no, And strangely, I played golf with a little white ball and clubs.
Strange.
And I just didn't get it. And then I just had that experience and was like, yeah, I'm going back to Ultimate practice.
It's funny how many players start as Ultimate players, at least in the old school. I think we have a lot of new players who just, boom, start playing disc golf. Is there a stigma between Ultimate discers and disc golfers? Like, is there like some kind of war or something? Or are we all brothers?
I like to think of us. I like to think that we're all brothers.
Disc brothers.
I think
I would agree.
It was inevitable that I would start playing disc golf, and then once I did, then that was it. Then I was all disc golf all the time, and have not played Ultimate now in quite a while. But that's how I got started.
Is it just the less running, or what made you switch?
Well, I think ultimately what made me switch is I had a hard time when I moved to North Carolina finding 13 other people to play Ultimate, and I was kind of an Ultimate snob, maybe,
Okay.
I was good and I wanted to play with others who were good, and finding 13 other people who were good and wanted to play a fun but competitive pickup game became very challenging. But then finding one other person to play a round of disc golf became very easy. And then I think it was out of maybe convenience at first, and then I got hooked up with the Asheville club, and then it just took off from there.
Right on. What about you, Ryan? How'd you get started playing?
Yeah, I guess my first experience that I remember very vividly was with my uncle up in the Washington, D.C. area when I was like 8. And I'm 44 now, so that's been some years. And, literally that was just, hey, let's get the kids out of the house. And they took us off to some little course that had been designed there. And, this was back, probably 80, late 70s, early 80s. And then realistically, I don't think I picked up another disc until probably right around 93. And I went to Vanderbilt University, and we would kind of get together with a few of my fraternity brothers, and we would take some disc as well as some frisbees, and just play object golf around Vanderbilt's campus, hitting buildings and trash cans and trees, and doing this sort of thing, having fun. And I found that to be pretty cool, and honestly, at that point, didn't know that it was really a sport. I've kind of always been an athlete, played a lot of baseball, and actually played at Vandy for a short bit. And then when I graduated, I stayed in Nashville, Tennessee, and was out working at a high school there, and realized that there were these baskets out there, near this McGavick High School. It's the name of the high school, and so sure enough, realized, wow, this is a legitimate sport. This is pretty cool. And then I found out it was free, which is one of my key words. I love that FREE, and as well as just being out in nature. So I started picking it up pretty heavily, 95, 96, played in the intermediate division there in Nashville a little bit. And then I moved out to California in 99. No, actually, I moved to California in like 97, was out there for 2 years in the Bay Area and played some out there, also in the intermediate division. I remember getting beat by Nate Doss in the Vintage Cup up in Napa, California.
Nice.
back in, I don't know, it was like either 97 or 98, and I think he was probably like, I don't know, 12, 13.
Had to be young. Yeah.
Yeah. And he totally worked me. I'm like, who is this guy? You know, and I came in fourth in that tournament, I believe, and then I moved back to the South here, Asheville, North Carolina, right around 99, and then 2000, 2001 is when I really started saying, you know what, this is where I want to put all my time. I'm done with softball. I'm done with, these other things, and I'm going to start playing disc golf. And so played real heavily in the advanced division in the early 2000s and did pretty well. I think I got myself ranked in the top 10 in the nation at that point. And
oh, wow.
Won a tournament over in Oslo for the Norwegian Championship back in, it was either 02 or 03. And then I jumped into the pro division and have not had quite as much success playing with the big dogs as I did in the amateur division. But now for good 10 years have really been taking the sport very seriously and on a training sort of regiment and then of course kind of getting into not only the playing aspect of it but the study of it and the research of it and hence the book. Kind of getting this book launched and so now not only playing it, but there's some work things that are starting to happen with it as well. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, very cool, very cool. So how did you two come together, and what made you decide to do this book?
Well, we discovered through a friend, Chris Tootin, a friend and fellow Asheville club member. We discovered that we were each writing our own disc golf book.
Okay.
And we were each kind of further along down different paths. Like I had done more writing, I think it's fair to say, than Ryan, but Ryan had done more of everything else. He had a solid proposal already done. He had a publisher interested in the project, and so we just sat down over a few pints, I believe, Ryan, and
right, good old Pax Tavern.
Pax Tavern in Asheville, and said, okay, let's collaborate instead of competing projects. Let's collaborate on one project, and we came up with our own. We each had our own outline for what we were going to write about, and we just combined them and put each other to task and kind of motivated each other for sure, and that's how it started, really.
Well, it's really cool that you guys came together and wrote this book that definitely took a different path than mine did, so that we don't have to compete as much. There's definitely a piece in here about a chapter in here about the mind aspects of the game. However, the remainder of the book it has a ton of information about some of your experience, I guess, in kinesiology and how to actually throw and the physics of the game, which I think is something that if you're looking for that, go to this definitive guide. Don't go to Zen and the Art of Disc Golf. Zen and the Art of Disc Golf is the mind piece of the game. So that's really cool. Also, the book is just filled with beautiful images. Can you tell us about let's talk a little bit about what you decided to put into the book and what you decided to leave out, and tell us about where these images came from as well.
I have to give Justin props on the images. He did an excellent job and a huge strength of his in scouring over photos after photos to really kind of come up with the images that we needed, and we basically did two things. One, he went about finding different photos that matched up with different concepts that we were looking for, and then simultaneously we have a really good friend, Ryan Bumgarner, that's one of the best professional photographers here in the South and lives in Asheville, and he also booked us into a little studio room where we literally took hundreds of pictures of hands on disc and showing different grips and this sort of thing. And so we kind of created a whole library of our own pictures and then also the ones that Justin created. And then we also had one of his colleagues come out and do some other pictures for us. And and then we just kind of lined it up. We created a little, sort of outline of, here's the concepts and here's the photos that we're going to use. And I think Justin also did a really, great job of trying to represent, a variety of different types of players, and women, of course, included, and as well as people that are from sponsored by different manufacturers. So, one of our goals was with the book is to try to help unite disc golf around the sport of disc golf, and not to, play favoritism to one company over another. And I think we, on the whole, really achieved that, and have a lot of players that are represented, and sponsored by these different companies. So the photos definitely helped the book, I think, and appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's definitely something that really stands out. I mean, and also this awesome picture of Paul Macbeth on the front, just throwing this mean-looking sidearm.
Yeah.
And then the PDGA stamp at the bottom, I'm sure, helps your cause as well.
Yeah, I mean, the photos took months longer than I think most people would realize to get together, because we had a list of basically aspects that we looked at on every single photo, and we'd have to run down that list and say, okay, does it show what we need to show, and what team are they on, or if they're on a team, and we wanted to have amateurs in there, and is it a great photograph was an important part of it. And so it just took months and months to get them all lined up.
It's not just the photographs though, the diagrams and stuff are really cool too. I want to give some props for that as well. Some of the graphic design diagrams as well.
Yeah, I think on the whole, we're really excited about how the layout, and everything, kind of came about.
Awesome. So let me ask you the most basic question that anybody could ask you about this book. Why did you decide to write a book about disc golf? I'm sure that you hear that all the time. I hear it all the time. And I actually, back in the day, I created one of these memes with the one with Bill Cosby looking confused at you, and I wrote underneath it, the look that your in-laws give you when you tell them you wrote a book about disc golf. So why did you decide to write this book, and what do you want people to get out of it?
I think, Justin, is it okay for me to jump in there?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's really, in my mind, pretty simple. It's twofold. One, the love of the game, and helping the game reach another level. And then two, the writing of the book, for me personally, really has helped me hone my game, because what it challenged me to do was to really slow down and intentionally think about absolutely every aspect of the game, especially in the whole skill section. And I can't tell you, that was huge, just really sitting down and thinking about that, and having to write about it has helped me become a better player.
How long has the project been in the works?
Ryan and I came together on this project 4 years ago, and he was working on a book, I don't know, Ryan, about 7 years total?
Mm-hmm. It was probably about 4 years before that, that I had kind of started. So, you'd say maybe 8 years I've been kicking this around.
I was definitely looking to write a book that I could use as an academic kind of textbook.
Okay.
For my disc golf, my disc golf course for academic credit.
And it definitely comes across like that too. So I think y'all did a great job with that.
Thanks. I mean, Ryan did a great job kind of keeping me from swaying too far to the textbook side. I would bring it all the way over to this textbook side of the continuum, and Ryan would bring it back over to the more trade book side of the continuum. And so that we had a lot of really positive give and take in that regard.
And you're a professor at Western Carolina University, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you do any other books prior, or is this one of your first works?
No, that I've written a lot of academic articles that nobody reads. This is nobody reads academic articles. But but this was my first go at a book, so it was exciting for sure.
Right on. What was the most difficult part for you guys completing this book and getting it out there to the public?
I can't think of a single aspect of the book that wasn't challenging, but at the same time wasn't enjoyable. I mean, it was great.
Great experience.
Everything was great. I mean, even the challenges, and Ryan and I would go back and forth. I mean, in terms of there was some debate, in terms of different directions for different chapters and things between us, but there was never any conflict. So there was no need for any conflict resolution because there was no conflict. It was a little bit of debate, but it was just give and take, and the whole thing has been great. The response right away before the book was finished, the response to our proposal was phenomenal. We had several publishers to consider. I think we had about 4 or 5 publishers, Ryan, right?
4, and then self-publishing being a 5th.
4 legitimate publishing offers, and so that's a good problem to have. So
Absolutely.
We had challenges, but it was all great, man. It was all fun.
And you bring up an interesting point for me as an author. What made you decide to go with a big publisher versus a self-publishing?
Oh, that was our biggest debate, maybe, between Pickens and I. Ryan is a entrepreneur, and a self-starter and a hard worker. In all things, including disc golf. The guy practices, God forbid you practice, right? I mean, all the things that we talk about in the book about putting practice and field practice and things like that. Ryan goes out and does those things, takes time out of his busy schedule to do those things. And so I think it's fair to say Ryan wanted us to strongly consider self-publishing.
Okay.
I'm in a different world. I'm in this ivory tower where you just don't do that. You don't self-publish. So I was just like, we got to go with the biggest dog, that we can. And so we went back and forth a little bit, but Triumph Books is a great publisher. They've been in business for a long time. They're the leader really in sport publishing in the world, and they're right on Franklin Street in Chicago. I mean, they're a big dog, and so it was going to be tough to decide to go a different route, I think, than with Triumph.
Right on.
I would say, if I could just chime in on that,
yeah.
It really gets back into through several conversations between Justin and I, and what really are our number one priorities around why we're writing the book. And really it boiled down to that our number one priority was the love of the game, the growth of the game, and the validity of the game.
Okay.
And so if you take that and you look at that in regards to decision criteria and going through, making decisions, it weighed it heavily. And so Triumph Books, although, maybe is not financially as rewarding as self-publishing by any stretch of the means, at the same time, they are going to help us achieve, that number one goal. And,
sure.
And I think to some degree that's already happened. I mean, the book is in Barnes & Noble. They've been to book buying conferences where literally they had custom-made putters that said Triumph disc on them that they gave out, at the national and I think even international book buying. So the game is already getting into avenues and arenas that it has never gotten into before, due to the decision that we made. And, and I think that at the end of the day, that's, for me, I mean, I think Justin was always wanting to go with the big dog, and he's correct. I was the one that, was kind of really questioning that.
Sure.
And wanted us to really run that through, a decision matrix. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what we came up with. And
that's great.
I think we're excited about that. And, I think it's been a big help for the game, and hopefully will continue to be.
Well, that's awesome. But just author to authors with you guys, my decision-making part of the process was when I dropped my book, I didn't think anyone would buy it at all. So I didn't even shop around. I was just like, here's another. See, I had been in music for so long, and I had dropped, I had experience with being my own record label and this self-publishing idea. It's just how I've always lived. It's how I always did things. And so when I put out this book, I've said it before on the podcast, my wife goes, well, what do you think would be a successful sales? And I was like, I don't know. If I sold 10 copies of this book, I'd feel successful. Well, I put it up and it, it blew up. And then I had publishers contacting me. And then I had to go with like what you said about royalties. I had to go back to them and go, well, okay, my book is already very cheap. Well, inexpensive, I should say, inexpensive on Amazon, and it's already selling, and it's bringing me a decent amount of income. Can you meet this royalty percentage? And then every publisher's like, no, can't do it. So I've just stayed where I always sat, and it's been good. But I totally get what you guys are saying with, and I can appreciate that. You started with a value. You said this is where our values are at, and this is what we want to do with this, and that's why that's a big part of our decision matrix. So that's really cool. Well, guys, the book is really nice. I definitely recommend people checking it out. It'll make a great book on your bookshelf, great book on your coffee table. If you're a disc golfer, you got to have it. I mean, it's the definitive guide. So, yeah, you got to have it. Set it right next to your copy of Zen on the Art of Disc Golf, and you're gold.
Well, thanks very much.
Tim or Chris, did you have any additional questions?
I don't think so. I enjoyed the book. I learned a lot from it, and it's been great to have you guys talking to us.
Well, we're more than happy to, and certainly, if in the future y'all want to get into talking more about specific aspects of the book. I know the middle chapter is somewhere, even though it's just one chapter, that we do overlap a little bit, and I have to say it's something that is extremely important to being a successful disc golfer. And we easily could fill up, I'm sure, an hour just talking about some of the aspects of the middle game and how to hone your middle game. And
we've filled really 29 podcasts with that so far.
Yeah, right. And I've done a lot of my own sort of training around that. Most recently, I don't know if y'all are familiar with cognitive behavior therapy, CBT.
Yes, sir.
But I hired a sports psychologist and is kind of a specialist in CBT, and then as well, there's something called ACT, acceptance commitment therapy. And
okay.
There's really some amazing stuff there in regards to learning not to fight your mind and learning to, kind of zone in more. And so I guess I'm just kind of bringing that up in that, would love to have those conversations. And there's a lot of overlap, I think, with what y'all have in your book in regards to Zen and a way of life. And for me, it's something I'm extremely passionate about. And I know that the middle aspect for me is part of what trips me up from having 1,000 rated rounds constantly.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And Ryan, we'll definitely have you back on the show if you want to be on the show. Did you guys have anything else you want to tell our listeners before we let you go?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've been really happy with the reception of the book. And I want people to understand that I think it's a great book for both beginners and professionals. I can't count the number of professional players that have come up to me and said, man, I was a little suspect. I thought this was going to be something that was more suited as a gift for a buddy who just started playing, but well, you guys got some things in there that really helped my game. I mean, I've had a lot of professional players come up to me and say that. And so I think that was the hardest thing for us to pull off, was we cut a wide swath. We wanted it to be a book for all disc golfers, from an absolute beginner to a touring pro. And I feel pretty confident, Ryan, don't you think, that we've accomplished that?
I think we have, and I do think that there is always room for growth, and as time moves on, I think Justin and I will certainly be writing some more together. And, back to one of your original questions, Patrick, about the book and what we decided to have in there and not. I mean, that somewhat was a challenge. I mean, a lot of information got cut, and we had to take out a lot.
Wait a minute, I thought it was definitive.
It is definitive, and at the same time, as with anything, there's a spectrum, and so the deeper and deeper you can dive into something, of course, the more information that's there, and
down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's correct, and certainly there's I think there's room to include more stuff, and helping people that really, are wanting to take this sport seriously and take it to the next level.
That leads up to my
time moves on.
That leads right into my next question. This is for Justin. As a professor, are you going to release a new one every year so that your students have to buy the new version? They can't buy the used ones from the bookstore?
No. And my students will be able to purchase it at wherever they want, a significantly reduced price. You know how it is, Pat, dealing with Amazon. Amazon blows these books out like incredibly they're incredibly inexpensive on Amazon. You just can't compete with them. So my students can, they can purchase them there. Patrick, you brought up an interesting point about the title.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, when you sign with a publisher, you give up the title.
Okay.
We gave up may not be the right words, but I'm going to use them anyway. I mean, we gave up a lot with signing with the publisher. We got a lot in return, for sure. We had two phenomenal editors assigned to us that made the book better through their expertise. We were assigned a layout person who made the book better through their expertise. But one of the things we gave up was the title. And what I find interesting is that a lot of folks, because I guess it's the title of the book, a lot of folks, focus in on that. And we had so many titles, working titles, Ryan and I did, going back and forth. We had several working titles, and some of them the publisher thought it's too vague, didn't even have the words disc golf in it. Others were kind of long-winded, very long-winded, which working titles tend to be. And so then the publisher came up with this title, The Definitive Guide to Disc Golf, and Ryan and I remember our conversation about it. We're like, okay, well, it's, it's as good as anything we've got, now. I think the title's a little bit of an oxymoron, because, the definitive means something to me, and the word guide means something else. A guide is something that is, is something that is not definitive. It's something that
true
that introduces you to certain aspects.
Yep, these are guidelines. Feel free to kind of color outside the lines.
Or a guidebook,
Well, the sport is growing, so it's hard to fully encompass something that's constantly growing with new equipment and new, I mean, anybody who pays attention to PDGA knows that they're constantly looking at new rules and, getting rid of old ones and things like that as well. So,
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I think, being a business consultant and teaching for many years about business at Marshall University and thinking about when they came back to us with, hey, we want to call the book The Definitive Guide to Disc Golf. I mean, it was really just like, well, yeah, I mean, that is marketing. That is probably going to be the best way to frame the book out there in the world. And I think ultimately when we looked at it with our other titles, and two of which, I think, Justin, you're fine with me sharing those, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of them we had was Catching Climo, and that was one of the ones that I had worked with the book that I was writing, and really that doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because, as you know, coming from the mental aspect of this, a sport where you're playing just solo by yourself, it's not about catching anybody. It's about honing your game, and it's about being the best that you can be. And if you are, then likely you're going to win. And if you're not, then you're going to get beat. And so that one kind of got X'd. And then our other one was...
it's catchy, though. I like it. It's catchy.
Yeah. The other one was A Good Walk Defined, the history, science, and skills of disc golf.
Okay. And
so we were kind of working on, correct me if I'm wrong here, Justin, an old Mark Twain quote that basically is, something to the degree of golf is a good walk spoiled. And so we kind of had turned that around to, kind of use this famous quote, to be that, disc golf is a good walk defined, and being in the woods and being in nature and around God's energy is just amazing. And so that in its own self about the game is pretty cool. And then of course we were weaving in the skills and the science and history, in the kind of the second part of that title. But of course that was a little bit too long. And again, I think at the end of the day, what the publisher came up with, is a better title, marketing wise, and really the book, as some of the reviews that are out there on the book, show it is a extremely strong summary of the sport.
Sure.
That covers about absolutely everything that you could. One of the things that did get cut that we weren't able to fit in that would have been nice is a good friend of ours, Tim Barr, that is a sponsored player by Latitude, lives over in Johnson City. He's been playing the sport for years, and is an excellent player, had come up with, kind of guidelines for how to run effective tournaments if you're going to be an actual tournament. So we had like a little, couple pages on that, and we're, really going to kind of use some of the information that he had created. And that's a good example of just, something that didn't make it in the book. And, we don't really have guidelines for tournament directors in the book. And that may be something that, as the book unfolds, and if we do create a second edition down the line, will likely be things like that will make it into the book that didn't make it into the book in the first run.
Right on. So the definitive guide to disc golf. I've got a copy of this I'll be giving away, most likely via a Facebook giveaway. So make sure you're following Zen Disc Golf on Facebook and try to enter to win this book. Fellas, thank you again for being on the show. It's a pleasure. Hope to talk to you again. Hope to see more of your work out there.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, guys, so let's do a few reviews here. Chris, I know you had something you wanted to review.
Yes, I do, and this one isn't specifically disc golf related, but I was so thrilled with it that I wanted to share it with everyone. So, have you guys heard of the Foldio portable studio?
No.
So this thing is fairly new. I think it originally came off of a Kickstarter, and this might not necessarily appeal to just an average disc golfer, but for anyone who's into either selling discs, whether it's on eBay or through a store, or taking pictures of their discs for blogs like us, or even outside of disc golf, this thing is really, really neat. This came from some guys that realized that when you're taking pictures of something, just like smaller items like retail items or anything, sometimes you need this really large setup, a lot of lights to get a really good picture. Mm-hmm. And they realized that it was getting too much. So they came up with this portable studio where it folds down flat, and it's just a number of plastic pieces that are attached together with magnets. It folds out into one large plastic piece, and you put it together, attach the magnets to each other, and it stands up by itself. And it's probably about, I think the one I have is about 18 inches or so. And it's all white plastic, and it comes with two strips of LED lights that you can attach to the top. And you put your item in there to take a picture of it. and it produces an even lighting effect all the way around it, and it blocks out most of the other shadows and everything from outside the area. And it also comes with a couple of screens, a black screen and a green screen that you can they're just little canvases that you unfold and put them in there. And it folds up into a box that's about the size of a briefcase, so it's really easy to carry around. And this thing is so cool because, you know, I'm trying to take pictures of discs, and if you've seen any of our disc reviews that we put up, we usually have one featured image, and then we have an image to show the profile of all the putters. You know, we think that's important for the feel, and sometimes it's just really difficult to get a good picture with any lighting or anything in the back. So I've got this portable studio, the Foldio now, and I set the disc right in there and comes out with a great picture almost every time.
Chris, can I just throw in here something real fast? I really appreciate your commitment to taking photos with backgrounds that relate to the disc that you have. The chainsaw one was awesome.
Yeah,
the Black Zombie
I'm glad you
chainsaw.
like it.
Did you take that into like a Home Depot or something?
No, you know, it just happened to work out that Rodney's moved into a new house over the last few months, and he just got a chainsaw to clear out some of the brush out behind his house, coincidentally, so that we can, you know, complete the disc golf course back there. But he had just gotten a chainsaw the same week that the chainsaw putter came in, so it worked out quite nicely.
Nice. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I'm glad you guys appreciate it. I know some of our images are a little bit cheesy, but we have so much fun coming up with the the meta meanings on there. So at least a couple people appreciate it. So anyway, the last thing I was going to say about the Foldio is it's a little bit of an investment if you don't have a revenue model. For example, putt heads currently don't have a revenue model, and I think the range is somewhere between $45 and $60 for this thing. So it can be a little bit of an investment if you're just an average disc golfer. But especially if you're selling discs, or if you're doing custom dies like tin spin dies and you end up putting those on eBay, it can truly improve the quality of your images. And for us, it makes it so much easier to be able to get a good image no matter where we are. I just throw this thing in the back of my car and I fold it up, and within I think I clocked myself at about 90 seconds, I've got the whole thing folded up and plugged in, and the disc is in there and ready to go. So it makes it real quick and real easy. When especially when you're as busy as we are, get a quick image and put it up there.
That's really cool. What was it called again? The Foldio Portable Studio. I think I have the first version. I think the first version's a little bit smaller, and you can get that on eBay or Amazon, I believe. I'll have to check that out. And I think they're onto the second version now, and the second version's a little bit nicer, got some new features. Like I said, originally came from a Kickstarter, and it got some pretty good attention. So definitely. Right on. Foldio Portable Studio.
I'm looking at their website right now. So it's on photojojo.com.
Okay. I'll definitely link that up in the show notes. Cool. Tim, what do you got?
I want to review a video that just came out. Central Coast Disc Golf, which if you haven't heard of them, you should have, because they're responsible for some of the most exposure that disc golf has gotten ever with Philo Brathwaite's Albatross. They're the ones who filmed that.
That was amazing.
That was awesome.
I was watching that yesterday, actually. Have you seen the LeBron version of that?
Yes, the shoe. Yeah.
I'm going to link that one up as well.
Yeah, they just it was just on Tosh.0, and they did a whole parody of Frolf and Mini Frolf. It's been great for the sport, and I think that a lot of the credit goes to Central Coast Disc Golf, and I followed them on YouTube for a long time. Well, they just released in the last week a new clinic with Will Schustrick in it that they filmed. It looks like it's in 4K. If it's not, it's 1080, but it's really good quality. A lot of times when you see clinics that the pros put on that are filmed, it's the guy in the back row with his iPhone and
hiding the camera.
Oh yeah, I mean it's well, even that you can't hear him, and then there's some guy's head in the way half the time. And
no, I'm not filming.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's great because the Central Coast films this clinic, and I've got to say that of all the clinics that I've watched, there's a few people out there who I think are really great teachers, and I think Will is at the top of the group.
Yeah, he does a great job.
He has a great way of explaining things. It's over an hour long, so it's not just a little quick, here's how you throw a disc. I mean, he goes through from from grip to reach back to the X step to forehand to, I mean, he covers a ton of different aspects.
Video.
It is. It's the definitive disc golf clinic. So
Rodney went to a Shoestrick clinic not too long ago. Rodney was very, very impressed with Shoestrick, not only his instruction but his personality. He got a disc signed for me and brought it back. So
nice.
He sounds like he's really good.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like he really enjoys doing that, and he's definitely transitioned his quote unquote career in disc golf. Is going as good of a player as he is. I think he just won the Greater Hartford Open. But as good of a player as he is, he's really transitioning into doing a lot, like Eric McCabe, doing a lot for the sport behind the scenes, outside of playing, which is what our sport needs to grow and actually progress. And the more people that know how to play and get a better handle on how to be good, I think the more enjoyable the sport becomes. So whenever I find a good tutorial like this, I always try and let people know. And my previous favorite tutorial was also by Will. And it's on standstill driving, and he actually references it in this one. Mm-hmm. And I got to say, if you watch those two tutorials, you've got pretty much all the tools you need to throw a disc. Sweet.
I'll be referencing that. I'll put that in the show notes. I'm going to send it to all my little disc golf buddies so that maybe we can all get better. The definitive video to disc golf. All right, awesome. Incidentally, hey, Chris, you reminded me with your signed disc story. Did y'all see that disc I shared on Facebook? Somebody shared with me that he had found on the course that was signed by Ken Climo and Avery Jenkins. He was like, hey, I found this on the course.
No way.
Yep.
Wow. Who's
no, I didn't see that post.
I'm sorry?
I said, who's playing rounds with that disc?
Exactly. That's what everybody was going. I said, could you imagine finding this disc just out when you're regularly playing? And somebody responded, I couldn't imagine throwing that disc. It had like 7 signatures on them. I can't remember the other ones. They were all pros, but it had Ken Climo and Avery Jenkins, John Hancock on it. So
there was one up on eBay not too long ago where it was posted just disc golf disc with ink. And it was actually Ken Climo's signature on it. So whoever was selling it obviously didn't know that it was a little bit more valuable than the $5 that it was going for.
Did the price go up on it though?
I think so. I didn't watch it. I am not sure.
Okay.
I believe it did though.
Okay.
A few people recognized it.
One last review today. I want to review the Disc Golf Unchained app. Have y'all played that yet?
Not.
I feel like I'm going to be cheating a little bit on Tribaloid here by reviewing this game, but it's really enjoyable. I was actually at the fire station yesterday, and I've gotten a couple of the fellas into playing. In fact, I sent you to a video of us playing out on our fire station course, which we created about 9 holes as an object course out there. Having a blast. It's like a par 60. all parking lot, all streets are considered water and therefore out of bounds. So anyways,
could you actually flood them with the fire hydrants?
We could.
And really have water out there?
You totally could. So one of the guys was playing this game and he goes, have you played this disc golf game? Well, which one? I assumed he was talking about the Tribaloid. I played all the Tribaloid ones. He goes, no, it's Disc Golf Unchained. And I looked it up. I'm like, no, I haven't seen that one. So I pulled it up, start playing it. Majorly addictive. I think I lost 10 hours at work yesterday just playing that. So it's one of those like freemium games where it's free to download and then you pay like 99 cents to get rid of the ads. Go ahead and drop that $1 on getting rid of the ads because they're really annoying. And then you can buy more courses and buy more discs. I already bought another course because I played the same one about 12 times. So they're already getting my money. But you can buy more discs if that's something that you're into filling out your digital bag. But I really like the way the physics works on it. Basically, you start out and you see this disc and you see your layout and you can do a little flyover of it. And then it has almost like this ribbon that shows the flight path of that disc based on how you're holding it. Then you can change how you hold the disc and then it changes the way the ribbon looks as it, winds through the trees.
That's interesting.
And then, as the quintessential method of playing golf on digital devices, You hit the throw button, the little bar goes over. You have to hit the throw button again at a certain point. Then it creates a bullseye. And then you have to hit the throw button again. If you're off a little bit on the left, you're going to get more fade. Like you didn't throw it hard enough. And then if you're too far on the right, you turned it over. So it's got a lot of elements just like disc golf. And so you can move it around and you just kind of look at this ribbon to see, okay, if you throw it exactly right, it's going to follow this ribbon. So majorly addictive, definitely recommend checking it out.
How difficult would you say that is? It sounds pretty complicated, but is it all right?
All right. So it took probably 10 minutes to kind of figure out. I feel like all those games are just inherently difficult to figure out when you first start. Here's the key. You've got a couple magnifying glasses on the side of the on side of the phone. I'm using iPhone, so I don't know if this is for Android yet. I assume it probably is. It's Local Route Labs, I believe, is the name of the. Let me look at it. Yep, Local Route Labs were the designers of the game. So the key is use those magnifying glasses and it takes you down the ribbon. So what I'll do is I'll set the ribbon to kind of try to hit close to the basket or wherever I can hit in the basket, preferably. Then follow the ribbon. Now, if that ribbon's going to take you through a tree, you got to readjust. So that's the key, to kind of use those magnifying glasses back and forth, zoom in and zoom out to see how the throw should go. All in all, I think the first 18 I scored a +5 or a +5. So not bad. I mean, it's not one of those games where you're going to putt 18 times at the basket, over top of it, trying to get it in. So I enjoyed it. I think it's real addictive. My buddy really enjoyed it. They got another game out, which is called, stand by on that. It's called Flight Lab, I believe. And it actually uses, it's not as much about, Disc Golf Unchained Flight Lab. It's not as much about playing an 18-hole course, but they have actual models of discs from real manufacturers. They've got Latitude 64, West Side, Prodigy. They've got those discs, and basically they set you up with a hole, and I guess they use whatever physics engine that they've developed, whatever algorithm, and plugged in those numbers for the discs so that they do what they're supposed to do. So that's kind of a fun thing to play with. Yeah. So I recommend they're both free. Like I said, the ads are really going to annoy you on the first app. Just drop the 99 cents, get rid of the ads, and keep playing. So, yep, definitely recommend it. So let's go ahead and give some stuff away. Let's start out with, a 5-star review for this very podcast. This is a review from Dick Waterfall, who says, "This podcast is an ace." And then he goes on to say, "Wow, Patrick and the crew have done an amazing work with this podcast. With the ever-increasing popularity of disc golf, the game we love, it's becoming more and more important to focus on the mental aspects of the game and growing a respectful community of both new and quote-unquote seasoned players. Courses are getting a bit more crowded, and disc golfers are involved in more competition than ever before. Typically, this can bring out the worst in people, but the Zen Disc Golf podcast and book will help you bring out the best in not only yourself, but the friends that you play with. Thanks, Patrick and crew. You guys are awesome. Keep throwing." So, Dick Waterfall, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you a signed copy of Zen and the Art of Disc Golf. Just go ahead, once you hear this, respond to zendiscgolf@gmail.com with your address, and I'll be more than happy to go ahead and put my signature on a book and pop it in the mail and send it your way. We also want to give away last month's $20 gift card to one of our amazing contributors. This is a gift card, $20 to infinitediscs.com, and it is going to, drumroll please, Calvin Negrete. Calvin has been contributing over the past few months to the podcast, and we want to go ahead and reward him with a $20 gift card. As you heard earlier in the podcast during the introduction, if you would like to help us keep going, growing, and flowing, remember, this show is run on $1 contributions made through PayPal. And so just head to the notes of this podcast or head to zendissolf.com, and every month you can enter a chance to win. Just by donating $1, you can get a $20 return and buy some more plastic. So that about concludes the show. Thank you everyone who was involved. Justin Menickelli, Ryan Pickens, Tim Stewart, Chris Bowden, all of our sponsors, all of our 5-star reviewers. Thank you all. If you're not following us on Facebook, please make sure you do so, and have a wonderful rest of the week.